Hello and welcome to Sillett and Reevesy. My name's Darren Reeves.
My name's Neil Sillett.
And we are...
Sillett and Reevesy.
Excellent. Sil, we're here at the Marriott Hotel in Portsmouth today. We've come a bit of Sunday morning breakfast for everybody. We were hoping to do our podcast on Friday, but I was a little bit sleepy, it has to be honest with you, Sil. I was up in Manchester doing a Billy Joel show at the Bridgewater Hall.
Right.
And it
good
was
venue?
Mate, it wasn't just good, it was phenomenal. It's like Birmingham Symphony Hall,
really?
2,000 seat arena, and we had a big crowd there. It was the best one we've had so far.
Brilliant.
It was just a brilliant thing, and it gave us real belief.
Did you play Piano Man?
I did play Piano Man, and I was on stage. It's the last song we do, and I said, "Do we want one more?" And the audience go, "Yay!" I said, "What have we missed out?" And of course, everyone's going Piano Man,
Hey, Piano
and all
Man.
I could hear is old Big Kev, the Pompey Kit Man, going, "Play a piano." I can't do it. You do it.
Play Piano Man.
There it is. But anyway, Kev, if you're listening to this, mate, you need to get a life, and you should be doing something more important. But anyway,
someone on that subject. I happened to watch The Voice last night.
Okay.
Someone came and sang one of the Billy Joel songs.
They did, and it was the first one on because I had it on when I was cooking. I was making fajitas, and it was a chap doing "She's Always a Woman to Me,"
and it was lovely, wasn't it?
It was brilliant, mate.
Yeah.
He had three chairs turn around, I seem to
Did he?
remember. But for me...
See, I can't even remember how many... Someone had
I wasn't
four
even
chairs
watching
turn
it,
around.
I was listening
to
mate,
it.
I turned
how
it off
can you
by
hear the
then.
chairs turn around?
Well, mate, I tell you, mate, I'm a professional here when it comes to the music industry.
You are, aren't you?
Yeah,
no, it was good, wasn't it? It was good.
Well, it's a great... the trouble is, every song Billy Joel ever wrote, in my opinion, is a hit. Every single one. There's no B-sides.
Yeah.
They're all brilliant.
Yeah.
And I don't... maybe I'm being a little bit sort of favoritism with it, but you go and listen to a Billy Joel song and tell me that it's not absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Whereas, with the greatest respect, Elton John, which in Britain we all sort of think at Billy Joel, Elton John, one side of the pond, the other side of the pond. Elton John, in my opinion, wrote a lot of crap to write some brilliance in amongst it. And of course, we all know your Crocodile Rocks and your I'm Still Standing, Still, don't we?
We do, yeah, still standing.
But Billy Joel,
just about.
But Billy Joel... Literally, mate, every song is unbelievable. And of course, Billy wrote all the lyrics as well as the music. Elton obviously had Bernie Taupin to work with.
What did Bernie Taupin do? Did he write the music?
He wrote all the lyrics.
The lyrics.
And Elton wrote the songs. And Elton always says he wrote hymns.
Yeah.
So Bernie would fax him a lyric sheet.
Yeah.
And Elton would get up and he'd have breakfast at 9. He'd go and sit at the piano at 10. And at 2 p.m, the band arrived in the studio, and by 10 p.m, it was all recorded and done and written, and that was it. And they wrote a song a day, and they'd do 40 days in the studio, and that's how they created the album. So they had 40 songs to choose an album from.
Yeah.
He wrote some real crap in amongst that brilliance.
Of course, I mean, that's just a matter of numbers, isn't it, really?
Mate, but this is the point. The more you do, the better you get.
Yeah.
What are we doing sat here? We're doing this podcast.
And the more sort of trash is along the way as well, isn't it?
Well, listen, we're going to do some rubbish and we're going to do some good stuff.
We probably have done a lot already, haven't we?
But YouTube Shorts will filter all that out for us.
Yeah.
So this is podcast number 9 for us, Sil.
Yeah.
We're on a mission to do... the plan is we're going to get 12 podcasts under our belt, is the plan, isn't it? And from anywhere and everywhere, with some guests along the way.
Yep.
But today, it's Sunday morning. We're here. We've got a lot to talk about with what's gone on in the world of sport. Last week, Sil, you gave a little tip.
I did, didn't I? Yeah.
In the horse racing world. Tell me what the tip was.
The St. Ledger, I harped on about how Aidan O'Brien had won 4 of the last 10 runnings. Yep. He's now won 5 of the last 11 because he won it last weekend, but not with the one I tipped. That looked like winning all over the place, Illinois, but it was just touched off by Jan Bruegel, who's now won 4 out of 4. So it's only ran 4 times. It's won every time.
Right.
And the likelihood is now that maybe both of them will go to America for the Breeders' Cup, which I can't remember where it is this year. It might be Del Mar, San Diego. Which I've been to and is one of the best places to ever go and watch racing. It's unbelievable.
Well, I've spent a lot of time in San Diego, but never at the race course, Sil. So next time I'm there, I'm looking forward to this invite I'm going to get now.
I'll get you an invite.
Perfect,
no problem at all, I'll speak to one of the stable lads and get you an invite. But
mate,
it's
there's
a great
no
place.
one stable in horse racing, mate. I can tell you that much.
You're not wrong there, by the way. But this week, not an awful lot going on this week in the racing world. It's building up to... a big weekend next weekend, which we'll talk about maybe later on this week. So the Arc comes around pretty quickly, Arc de Triomphe, and then following that, about 3 or 4 weeks later, you've got the Melbourne Cup, and then you've got the Breeders' Cup in America, which is like the World Championship of racing.
Right.
But usually, unlike here, the Breeders' Cup is ran on dirt or sand or fibre. So it's not the same as what we see here in the Derby and all that.
Well, do you know what? For me, as an outsider looking in on horse racing, I've learnt so much just from talking to you about it and going to Goodwood with you guys. I've been at Chelmsford this year as well, and I feel like I'm starting to get to know what I'm talking about.
Don't get too immersed.
No, I know. But mate, the amount of times I've driven past the track in Melbourne.
Really?
When I've been working there and there for Formula One and Bjorn again are the other ones, because Bjorn again are based in Melbourne.
Are they?
They're from Melbourne, and we've got an office in London, but also an office in Melbourne.
Wow.
So I've been past that place many a times.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to another invite when I get down.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll get one off this.
No, mate, maybe I'll get you in there with Bjorn again. Who knows? We'll get a gig there.
Yeah, get a gig. Yeah.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, do that.
So, mate, there's lots coming up, and I'm, as I say, I am. I'm sort of getting interested in it.
So the last meeting. Big meeting, a midweek meeting of the year at Goodwood, our local track.
Yes,
is on Wednesday.
That's this week.
There's some decent racing on this week at Goodwood, and an interesting horse. It's called Hawkeye the New. All right, and it's trained by Scottish.
Scottish. I'd never have realised that.
But the owners could be different. I think the owners aren't Scottish.
Oh, okay.
But the trainer is definitely from Scottish heritage. Charlie Johnston, and the family have a great record at Goodwood. His father Mark and trained hundreds of winners at Goodwood, probably the most winning trainer. So he's got a horse running called Hawkeye the New in about the 4 o'clock or the 4:40 on Wednesday. Yes. And that finished second first time up. Looks like it's ready for this race, and I think it will take a bit of beating if it runs. The ground with all the rain we've had will dictate whether it runs or not, I think, but it will have a major chance if it does turn up.
Oh, well, so that's a bit of a tip, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hawkeye
the New.
You can say, I'm terrible with accents unless it's unless it's Swinglish again in a satin outfit, and I seem to be able to do it. The only reason I know Goodwood's happening this week is, I don't know if people know, but when I'm not around the world touring and I'm back home in Hampshire, I teach a bit of piano.
Right.
And one of my piano students is a retired chap, and I teach him Wednesday mornings, and he was like, is there any chance you could come at 8:30 Wednesday morning? Because I'm at Goodwood during the day.
He's going, is he?
And my brain was like, how about I come to Goodwood and we'll forget the piano lesson?
Yeah.
How about that?
No,
didn't happen.
Didn't bite on it. No,
didn't know, not in the slightest. So,
if you want to go, I can get you into Goodwood, and that's far easier than Melbourne, and it's far easier than Del Mar.
Yeah, but
I can do that.
We've done that already, though. I want to do new things. Sil, also, there's a lot of golf going on. At the moment, and it was the Irish Open last week, and you mentioned McIlroy would be up for it on his home turf, basically, and go for it. But what happened?
Well, he was fantastic all week, really. There, probably the best tournament he's played on his home soil, and he got to a lead with 9 to play, which looked, like he was home and hosed. And he dropped 2 shots on the way in, and the way the course played all week, that wasn't the biggest surprise. He was heavy-handed with a putt. I mean, listen to me. Heavy-handed with a putt.
Mate, I'll tell you now, you, within 6 feet, you don't miss anything.
Well,
you don't,
I'm
mate.
solid within 6 feet, but this was a 60-foot putt uphill with a bit of break in it. So it was a tough putt, and he rolled it 12 feet past. And missed the par feet.
Foot past.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a tough putt.
That sounds like me at Old Thorns this summer.
Yeah. It was a tough putt because it had a lot of break and a lot of uphill in it. But to race it that far past, what happened? It got to the hole, and there was a down slope after the hole, and it just kicked on.
Well, if anybody's played golf at Old Thorns, I'm not saying it's Rory McIlroy and so on, but honestly, if the ball does get past and it's in the dry summer conditions, which is what we've got going on, I suppose at times this summer, that ball will just go and go and go and go.
The guys, especially Dan the Harding, I think his name is, the greenkeeper there. I reckon he watches us from the bushes and pisses himself laughing, doesn't he?
Well, do you know what?
Because he keeps turning up with a big smile on his face. How you doing,
mate,
boys? And then 3 holes later, he's there again.
He is.
We're going, God, these greens are quick, Dan, aren't they? They're ever so quick.
Yeah, he must be. Well, Dan, if you're listening to this again,
They're
with
fantastic.
Big Kev, we love your greens up there. And in fact, I brought some guests up to Old Thorns this year, and they found them really difficult. So you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
So, but mate, give us some
Give
help.
us a little bit,
So
so
give us a couple of tips on the greens of where to put the ball.
Talking about greens and the stay, of course, Wentworth has looked fantastic this week.
Well, it's one of my favourite courses, Sil,
Yeah.
and I've been to the BMW Championship many, many times over the last 30 odd years since I've been really into golf.
Yeah.
And I was there 2 years ago, and the day the Queen died, I think I mentioned it. I was there,
I think
and
that was last week. Yeah.
and this week though we've got the BMW Championship there, and Rory again is playing out of his skin, but he's got some competition as well with him, and the weather's been a bit changeable up there this week, hasn't it?
They've kept them in 3 balls this weekend.
Yep.
So he goes off with Billy Horseshaw and Matteo Manacero, who's won there 11 years ago now, and he must have been, I think, one of the youngest DP World Tour winners or European Tour winners at that point. And then halfway in between now and then, back then 11 years ago, got a case of the yips. He must have been putting at Old Thorns every day, but he really did struggle. It looked like he was going to finish at one point, but he's come back this year, been playing really well from tee to green. He's been fantastic, and to shoot 9 under yesterday on the Saturday when the pressure's on.
63, is that
63,
right?
63, yeah, fantastic.
Wow.
So he's put himself 3 shots clear going into this afternoon's last round. He's just a shades of odds on, which is probably a backable price the way he's played this year. But Sunday with Billy Horseshaw and Rory breathing down your neck, playing in the same 3 ball, brings a different pressure, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And he has sorted out the putting, but that will come under scrutiny in the back 9 this afternoon.
Well, do you know what? I've watched, because I've been working away all the time, I've actually managed to catch up just with the highlights and really watch Rory's rounds.
Yeah.
And he had a fantastic front 9 on the first day. And I thought, here we go.
Yeah.
But then he seemed to stutter a little bit, on the back 9, and then day 2 he'd stutter a bit. But he came back yesterday to actually take the lead from 5 or 6 behind.
Yeah.
But with Manacero playing with him.
Yeah, played out of his skin, didn't he?
He was just keeping up with him at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Rory was, and really pushed. But we want to see these greats be pushed. That's what competition
absolutely.
is all about.
And the field this week at Wentworth has led to, you look beyond them, and Tristan Lawrence again, who had a great last day at the Open up at Troon. He's in there, probably 5 back, which might be 1 too many at the moment with those that are in front of him.
Yep.
But there's some top players. Aaron Rye again isn't far away.
With the weather forecast for sort of thunderstorms, really, in golf world, we don't know if we're even going to see them complete today.
No, that could be possible.
But
talking about that, it is a great venue, and the best hospitality day I've ever had was at
on the 18th.
Wentworth.
Were you on the 18th hole?
Yeah, on the well, I'll tell you a little story about
go
it. So we got there for breakfast, glass of champagne, lovely breakfast and everything. I was with 2 guests, and we were being treated by a supplier, which is a bookie actually, which I'd lost a load of money with.
Well, we'll talk about them once they start sponsoring us.
But it was a great breakfast and champagne, and then the guy said, "Well, should we go out and watch some golf?" So one of the bolt-ons with the hospitality had was a seat on the 18th green, which we were guaranteed sort of thing on a reserve seat. So we walk outside. We said to one of the stewards, "Where's the 18th?" Now I'd backed Luke Donald to win this tournament, right? And he's coming. We've got the screen up in front of us whilst we're finishing our breakfast, and he's 6 under. I think fantastic, you know what I mean? What a great place for my man to be in. So that he's 15. Let's go out and watch him come in on the 18th. And so maybe 2 par 5s, maybe he can get to 7 or 8 under. So we asked the steward, "Where's the 18th?" Points us in the right direction. We walk through. It's a bit quiet here. There's not a lot going on, is there? Walk through, up the steps. We're the only ones there. No flag in the green.
You're on the wrong.
So we're thinking we're in the wrong place. So we walk back to the thing. So Luke Donald's on 15. There's no one on the 18th. Mate, that's the replay from yesterday. He said, "You're watching the replay on the television."
A few champagnes later.
Yeah, a few champagnes. Well, in the end, after that. And there was a bomb scare as well on the same day, and Poulter and all that. So I stayed in my seat with 2 bottles of Rioja, and the wine was brilliant, mate. So I didn't get out and see too much, to be honest. But
oh well, mate, it's a tough one doing hospitality at sport, isn't it? So we've been both lucky enough to have so many opportunities to do that with the work that we do.
Yeah.
But
never take it for granted because I can't get it now.
Well, the thing is, mate, when you're working at it, you can't really drink. So for me in Formula One, it's very rare for me to drink whilst the Formula One action is happening.
Yeah.
But when you're there as a guest, it's a disaster, which is what I had at Chelmsford. In fact, it was the last day I had a bit of alcohol. That's 5.5 weeks ago.
Is it? Crikey,
mate. I know, it's flown by.
Yeah.
But
I'd love to see Rory win.
So just to say, so it's Sunday morning. They're all going out for round 4 now.
Yeah.
We probably won't publish this podcast till this evening, so it's all going to be a bit retrospective. But we can't wait to see what happens. I'd love to see Rory do it.
Yeah, he's won there before, as has Manasera and as Horseshoe.
But I was going to say, we actually would be happy with any of them, really, wouldn't we?
And Horseshoe's been a great ambassador for the PGA Tour, playing in Europe quite a bit.
Yeah. No, I absolutely
he seems
agree.
A really popular chap.
I followed him a little bit at the Open last year up at Hoylake.
Yeah.
And he was great to watch.
And online at the moment, he's auctioning a bag for his foundation, which is a West Ham bag signed by him and the West Ham squad.
Oh, okay.
And that's up on his Twitter or his Instagram, where you can bid for that, and all the proceeds are going to his foundation. So
good on
him. He does a lot of good work. I think there's been some serious illness or tragedy in his family that he's supported.
Okay.
And he does some fantastic work for charity.
Oh, good man. Right, well, Billy Horschel, there's another one for you.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
Brilliant. Good luck today. So, football, Premier League.
Yep.
We had all the internationals last week. Premier League came back, and we saw a big result at Anfield.
We did. There's a big shock, wasn't there, at Anfield? Yeah. But I happened to work at Notts Forest last Sunday at the stadium, running a course on behalf of the Football Association with a lot of their staff. It was an excellent group of people, and included Wes Morgan, who was captain
Premier League winner.
Exactly, who was really engaged in the course. Gave us some good feedback, which was nice.
And what is it he's doing there? What's his role at Forest?
He's involved coaching now at Forest with the younger groups, but he's also done a degree in football management and football business, which he said really took him out of his comfort zone.
Oh, I bet it would. And I can imagine now, because you go out, you win the Premier League, you do your career as a footballer. The last thing you want to do is go back and study with a 20-year-old.
No, that's right.
So that's really tough. But you do have to reinvent yourself at certain stages in life, especially as a sportsman.
Yep.
So good on him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And what a good guy he is, you know. So I had to ask him about one of my favourite players. So we do a session on biases.
Okay.
And of the last 10, 15 years, my bias would go to a Kante type.
Right, okay, centre midfield. Yeah, centre midfielder. Where is he now? Because he went to Chelsea, didn't he?
Saudi, I think, but back playing for the French national team.
Yes.
And Wes said he was far better than you could even imagine. I said, that can't be possible.
No.
He said he came in, first day's training, everyone went, wow, what's this? He covers ground, he tackles, he passes simply. But he said, as a human being, the best human being he's ever met.
Oh, really? Yeah. And you say that about Wes Morgan. So for Wes Morgan to say that about Kante, that's what you wanted to hear.
Exactly. And it was really refreshing. But going back to that, there was a really good group of people, good atmosphere. I felt a good vibe about the staff at Forest. So it wasn't a massive surprise after seeing all that they got the result at Liverpool, because I think there's good things going on now in the background at the club.
Having watched it I've always felt a little affinity with Liverpool, having sort of been up there a few times and been shown around. Slot has just taken over from my favourite manager being Klopp in the Premier League, and they've just carried on where they left off. So it's a massive shock to see them, firstly, not score at Anfield, but secondly, be beaten by a team that I think is in the lower reaches of the Premier League. You know, I'm not sure if they're relegation material, but I also know they're not top 10 material. Yeah. So to go up there and do what they did was an outstanding result.
It was, yeah.
An outstanding result. And the standout one of last week. Were they?
Yeah, they were.
What would you say would be the key to basically stopping Liverpool playing?
Well, they played a little bit deeper, so there wasn't a lot of space in behind where Liverpool like to hit you on a counter. They let them have the ball a little bit, but then they shut lines of passes off. So they shut spaces down in front of the back 4 or 5, as it was a lot of the time. And just limited their balls into the box, into the channels down the sides, which is what they like to do, and then really hit them quick on the break with two wide men that played early on. Then he brought two more wide men on, replaced them with subs who had fresh legs and energy.
Yeah.
One being Callum Hudson-Odoi, who's been around a little bit now, but took his goal brilliantly. Yeah. And
because I'm guessing they didn't get many chances.
No, they didn't.
And then to be able to take the chances when they come is a skill within itself.
Yeah.
You know, we've all sat there and watched matches, watching our teams miss chance after chance after chance, knowing that, oh no, if we don't take these, we know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and that could have happened to Manchester United yesterday at Crystal Palace. I mean, they had loads of chances, and then the best chance of the game fell to Eze in the last few minutes.
Yes,
which he put wide was surprisingly. He had a couple of good chances.
Well, I was going to watch that match and actually ended up just doing some accounting work, did some invoicing instead. And I know, mate, it was just had to be done.
It was 2-0.
Well, I did keep the score up there, and I'm sort of glad I didn't watch it. But like you said, you know, what I could hear was Man United played brilliantly all match.
Yeah.
But Crystal Palace were there to win it.
Yep.
But just going backwards from this weekend a little bit, there was another result last week, which North London derby, Tottenham versus Arsenal at Tottenham. I think it's an amazing football ground and arena.
It looks fantastic.
I've not been there
actually,
but they've also Formula One have created a go-karting circuit underneath the pitch as well. So I want to take a visit up there at some point. Yeah. Take my boy up there and go and have a look.
Yep.
But so that was a big result for Arsenal.
Yep.
You know, because they'd had a couple of draws or a draw, hadn't they?
A couple of important players missing, didn't they?
Yes, that's very true. So
Rice and Odegaard missing. Yes, Odegaard looks like he's out for a month or so.
They literally are the engine of that team in there, aren't they?
And it seemed tactically he got it right. You know, he some people said that they didn't come out to win the game like a Man City would. But he got it right, got the clean sheet, and that's all that mattered. How
long's Arteta been there now? 4 years, 5 years?
I would say it was pre-COVID,
yeah.
wasn't it? So,
it's got to be 5 years, you know, and he came from Man City as assistant to Guardiola, and you can only say learnt from the best.
Yep.
But I think when he first went there, it was just, here we go again. You know, it's difficult because I'm not an Arsenal fan, but my son is, so I sort of do follow him with an eye on them now.
Yep.
You know, and I look at what Unai Emery's doing up. You know, he was an average Arsenal manager, and what Arteta has done for Arsenal, I think it's just fantastic. And I just think I'd like to see Liverpool in there again as a 3-horse race, but
I think it will be. I think Liverpool will be up there, and you know there'll be someone else as well that makes a run at some stage.
Well, I hope
maybe
so.
Falls away.
I hope so.
You'd say Tottenham and Chelsea have got chances to get in the 4.
I'd agree.
Man
Chelsea, you just don't know what you're going to get, do you?
No,
and you can get brilliance. But before we get on to this weekend's football, we had Champions League.
Champions League, the first games in this new format.
Well, the new format interests me, so let me get this right. You tell me if... because
I'm not 100% sure.
So we've got a league. There's 32 teams in the league.
Yeah.
The top 8 automatically go through to the knockout stages.
Yep.
The bottom 8 automatically get extinguished. They don't go into the Europa League or anything. They're gone. I think that's a good thing, right? Now we've got 16 teams in the middle that are going to play off against each other.
Yep.
My question is, how many games are there in this league?
Right, so you play 8 games, 4 home, 4 away.
Right, but how do you choose who you're playing?
Well, that is random.
Okay,
so,
but it can't be random because at some point the others, you know, there's got to be some games left that haven't come out the hat. Well, I suppose it can be, and it just comes out of a hat till it's all done. No different to an FA Cup draw.
No, that's right.
Right, and
you know that works that way, and the cream should rise to the top.
Yes.
Over 8 games, but I think there's, you know, if you've got your away games turn out to be Man City, Juventus, Milan, and
let's talk about an away game at Man City. AC Milan, am I right? Went to Man City on Wednesday, and came away with a point.
Yep.
And
we've got to get that right. Is it AC or Inter? I think it was. AC.
Well, I think it's AC Milan because I think Inter were at home to Liverpool the night before,
and they got stuffed, didn't they?
And that was interesting. So, so I went to the San Siro last year and did a little bit of the old stadium tour and went and stood on the touchline and sat in the dugout.
No, it was AC Milan. It was Inter at Man City.
Was it?
Yes.
You do. Just say it with confidence and hope for the best. I've made a career out of it. Would you believe it?
Yeah, Inter.
Right.
Yeah, Inzaghi, wasn't it, manager?
That's right.
Yeah.
So AC Milan were at home to Liverpool, and Liverpool, having off the back of a defeat to Forest.
Yeah.
Basically, if you think I can read that.
No, it's not.
So, what a result for Liverpool. 3-1.
3-1. They went 1-0 down very early in the game.
That's right.
And then came back 2 set pieces. So it shows the importance of set pieces, even though Slot is probably a little bit more emphasising playing out from the back and through the lines than Jurgen Klopp was. So a little bit more perhaps possession based, but 2 of the goals turned around came from corners.
Yeah.
They did batter them after the first 10 minutes they were 1-0 down. The next 40 minutes in that half.
Stop jogging the table, you're jogging the camera.
Oh, sorry. The next 40 minutes they absolutely ran all over them, and Salah hit the bar twice. Keeper made a couple of saves, and from the corners, the AC Milan keeper came off at half time. He looked like he was carrying something. I think. Yeah. Because he struggled big time, but a big win for Liverpool. Man City on the other hand with Inter on Wednesday. They drew 0-0.
So what do you think Inter and Inzaghi brought his team to Man City with a game plan?
Absolutely, he did.
Because 0-0 at City is a result for any team.
Yep.
And you could argue with Guardiola at the helm, Man City are the best team.
Yep.
One of the best teams in the world. And I'd argue that Inter and AC Milan are 2 of the best teams in world football for the last 40 years. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
So what did Inzaghi bring to?
Again, a little bit similar to Nuno Santo with his Forest team at Liverpool. They sat a little bit deep, but the midfield 3 got around the ball and got up into the faces of Man City.
So who are they in for Inter now in the midfield? Who we
good
got
question.
Yeah, mate.
Really
don't worry. No. I can't remember.
Yeah. So they had 3 at the back, and then it was Barella in midfield, who's played a lot for Italy.
Yes.
He was fantastic. Not only did he shut people down, cut lines of passing off, but he made Man City turn back and go deeper. But when he won the ball, he broke past players and broke their line with the ball himself. A little bit like Gazza used to do, taking the ball past players. And he was really impressive, had a good game, and they had chances to win it. And I just feel that it's not the first time an Italian team or even a Spanish team has come to Man City against Pep. And it's a different type of football, and he claims that. But I think there's examples there, and certainly with all the data and analytics that teams have got now, to follow that example more than, go into the intricacies of how he's done that, because he would go deep detail as to how to stop them.
It must be difficult for any team to, that are like a juggernaut like City are or Liverpool are, because they have their way of playing and basically say, this is the way to play. So they play their game. So for most teams who play these top teams, they've got to go in with a game plan, and it's about not playing your style of football, it's about stopping them play their style of football.
Yeah.
But it must be difficult for a manager and a player to be so negative.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But there are times when you have to do that.
Yeah.
If you go out, and if we took a team up there today and said, we're going to try and beat these, what would happen?
Yeah.
We'd get beat 96-0.
Yes.
Right, if we took our golf team up there to play them. So you wouldn't you wouldn't do that. You'd think of something different just to make sure it's 50-0, not 96-0.
Yeah. Damage limitation.
Yeah, but teams with players that they've spent a lot of money on will also realise that, hang on, if we go in very open and we try and match them up here, they're very good at what they do, and they have the squad to bring in a top player in every position. I've got to stop banging the table. Top player in every position that can open you up and 1v1 beat you. So that you might have a tactic is let's stick with them. It's a session. I'm sure it still goes on now, where you go 11v11, and you've got to follow me around for 30 seconds or 2 minutes. And you can't touch the ball if anyone else has got it. So you give jobs to every player, and that happens in training a lot. When you go there and that happens, you would expect the discipline in the players to come out more.
Yes.
And those that don't want to do it, they won't play.
They won't play.
No.
Well, it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating, because everything is about tactics, and you say we're seeing it early on this season. You know.
Yeah.
A couple of other things happened in the Champions League, and that was Harry Kane.
Harry Kane.
Well, for somebody
goals.
that can't score.
Yeah.
For Toffee.
Everyone said he was rubbish in the summer, didn't
Correct. The Euros, I think he was knackered, if I'm honest with you, and probably gutted not to have won a trophy at Bayern Munich, because that was the whole point, was to
absolutely.
leave Tottenham, get over there, try and win the Bundesliga or the Champions League, and comes away with nothing.
Yeah.
So negativity, but he's come into a new season. He seems to now have woken up, be fresh. He scored 2 goals for England on its 100th cap, and now this week goes into didn't he? Last weekend score
as well,
yeah, and then goes into the Champions League. Well,
a game they should have won.
I think there was a couple of offside goals he scored as well. But how many did he score?
He scored 4. I think it was 3 penalties, wasn't it, or 2 or 3 penalties?
A hat trick of penalties. I think it was. Yeah.
So he does get a lot of those.
Yeah.
But then taking penalties isn't easy.
No, I've only ever taken one in what I felt was a competitive match, and it was terrible. Straight at the goalie. It was on target.
I mean, he's not only done that, but he scored another 2 yesterday, or one or 2 yesterday.
Oh, I have not even looked at the results.
They won 5-0 away from home, so they're now 4 games in, maximum points, loads of goals.
And a lot of confidence now.
Yeah. And that's Vincent Kompany, who everyone said, taking Burnley down.
So this is the other thing. He took Burnley down. He was a great player.
Yeah.
He got Burnley up. There's an argument to say that. But to go to Bayern, how? How does that happen?
Is
it who you know?
A little bit. His reputation would have gone before him a little bit. He also had a spell in Anderlecht. So people sort of just think it's Burnley, but he's done well at Anderlecht before Burnley took him.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, Anderlecht. Yeah. That was a bit like Sean Connery, wasn't it? You want to go to Anderlecht? But so he's got experience, and experience in Europe.
Yeah.
Was a surprise to a lot of people.
Well, listen, not
many people have given the Bayern Munich job,
but he's hit the ground running.
Absolutely,
and something's right.
Yeah,
and obviously having left Burnley, and then me watching the scores come through yesterday, Burnley versus Portsmouth.
Yeah,
obviously our local team and the one you've worked at.
Yeah,
to see, I was looking at the possession. After about half an hour, it was 0-0.
Right,
and I'm looking at it. Portsmouth 30%, 70%. But we've talked about tactics, and we've talked about letting the other team have the ball and all this stuff. And I won, but sadly 1-0 up at half time, and then go and concede in the 94th minute.
Yeah.
Portsmouth are now second to bottom, and a mate of mine's a Cardiff fan who are bottom, so we had a bit of banter yesterday. But I think Portsmouth actually have come into the Championship. I think they've actually been really unlucky, because they've scored conceded a lot of goals in injury time, a hell of a lot. And
that does start to play on
nickel in your mind.
Yeah,
3 draws and then 3 defeats, but they are against big clubs. They've played a lot of the big clubs. Yeah. This is not a Portsmouth review. I've just bounced onto it.
We did say at the start of the season, the first 8 games was
and
really tough.
We're now
if they could get 3 points out of them.
When we look, if we list them all, you got if I can get it right, Leeds, Luton, Middlesbrough, 3 top teams, all going to be in the. I think for the top 6. Yeah, I think top 6 really.
Yep.
And 3 draws, and I thought, what, they've done blimmin' well to do that. And then we go and see Sunderland 3-0 at home, West Brom 3-0 at home, defeats, which was just demoralising. And then yesterday to be leading and then let a lead go, especially a point go in injury time. 3 defeats now, second from bottom.
Gutting for them,
3 points from 6 games.
And I hate the term, because you let's take the positives from it, right? But everyone uses it.
I don't think there's a problem with me sticking a tenner on them being the top 6 teams at the end of the season.
Oh, okay. I can't remember what they are, but
I've just said them.
I'll say Middlesbrough struggled to get in there.
Okay.
Sunderland have done so well, so we think they might have a chance of getting there. But there's a couple floating around that.
But there'll be something to look at, Sil, if we can remember at the end of the season.
Well, that's it. You said Luton. They've had an iffy start. They came, like Burnley, they came back from 1 down yesterday to win. But they've had a sticky start, really. But like the Premier League's already 4 or 5 games in.
Yes, we're seeing what we expect.
Exactly, the bottom half of the bottom half.
Yeah,
but
and we've got
the Championship, because there's more games and because it's a little bit more hectic. The the league isn't quite sorted out yet.
Right.
So your teams like Middlesbrough and Luton, you'd expect them to improve.
And also on the flip side, at the bottom, I'd like to see Cardiff and Portsmouth start to pick up a few points and get their mid-table.
Yeah.
You know, Portsmouth's all about staving off relegation, really, and staying in the league and then building on it.
Yeah.
That's all we need to see.
Yeah.
Going back to the Premier League, just saying what you're saying about the Premier League taking shape.
Yep.
A big win for Chelsea yesterday.
It was, yeah.
At Palace at the lunchtime kickoff, 3-0.
He's had some flack. Nicholas Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
He scored 17 goals in his first Premier League season. Came from playing in Spain.
How many did he miss?
This is
and this is the problem. People remember that.
Yeah, but they shouldn't do, because he's a young guy playing his first season in what I would definitely consider to be the top league in the world.
Yes.
Yes, he missed chances, but you've got to get there to miss them. He gets there, and do you know what? He is quick, really quick, and not just that. He's agile with his movement. He loses people. Yesterday against West Ham, he was away and clear. Poor defending, big holes, and they.
Did I say Palace? I meant West Ham.
West Ham.
I take that back.
We've smoothed over that pretty well.
I knew it was a London derby.
Just a lot of bubbles you're talking about.
That's right. Yeah.
He finished both really well, and second one especially with the outside of his right foot, and he's quick. He's a difficult player to play against, and I think he'll get more than 20 goals this season.
Well, again, let's look out for that. That might be worth a tenner as well, Sil.
Yeah,
Nicholas Jackson to score more than 20 goals this season. If he plays, because they've got some other great forwards up front. Cole Palmer.
Colton Palmer.
Mate, it's Sunday morning. Give me a chance. Cole Palmer.
Yeah.
You know, he came off the bench for England and looked great during the Euros, and for me, he was a game changer.
Yeah.
This season, has he been starting for Chelsea?
They gave him a little time to ease him back into it, having played all summer.
Yeah.
Or been away all summer, but he took his goal brilliantly yesterday. He should have scored another one that Jackson again set up. But he's a player, again, you wouldn't want to play against him, because you don't know, he's so lithesome the way he moves, and the way he moves with the ball. Without the ball, he seems to drift a little bit, and he's not explosive. But with the ball, his body movement and his agility is top notch.
Well, I've got to say, he's one of those players that if I've watched a match, I found him a little bit hot and cold.
Right.
But for our mutual friend Mickey Baker, I do hope.
Give him too many mentions, Mickey Baker.
No, I think we're doing all right. We need him to listen. So I think for them, Mickey's a big Chelsea fan, and I'm going to throw Charlie Feather in there as well.
Yeah, Charlie.
Charlie, who I work in Formula One with, who I keep trying to meet up with, and we're never in the same place at the same time.
Yeah, I think Charlie's good at that.
Yeah. Well, I seem to be just as good as he is. So for those Chelsea fans, I really hope that they have a solid season.
Yep.
You know, Chelsea, with the money they've spent and the teams that they could put out, and when I say teams, they could have a second team in the Premier League.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them do well this season.
They've got 2 players in every position, like you've just said.
Yeah.
They've also got 20 players out on loan.
Yes.
So they've got 22 in the squad, 26 in the squad, and another 20 out on loan.
That is
nearly 50 players they've got to look after.
Outrageous. And the wage bill must be huge.
Absolutely.
And, right now in the headlines is financial fair play.
Yep.
And Manchester City are currently in the middle of a court case now. They reckon it's going to be a 10-week court case. It's been 1 week. 115 cases against them of financial fair play. And Guardiola was a little bit outspoken about it in the media this week, basically defending Man City. But of course, all the competition, they've trounced the last 10 years. Man City have absolutely now. But if they've done it unfairly, I've got an opinion on it. I may have said it on a podcast the other week, but my opinion is a 10-point deduction to Man City is not a 10-point deduction to Everton. No. 10 points to Everton is worth a hell of a lot more. So to me, it's an unfair penalty.
Right.
To me, there's only one penalty, and that's relegation.
Ooh,
because it's the same for everybody. Now, obviously,
that isn't the same for everybody, is it?
Well, obviously, City would then go in with loads of money, but they would lose their Champions League players probably.
Yep.
Unless they have an incentive to keep them there for one season to annihilate the Championship.
Yep.
But the trouble is, everybody would have an argument for everything. But I just think that relegation we saw Rangers get relegated, didn't we, many years ago for
irregularities.
Stuff. Exactly. So I've just got a feeling it's not fair for teams like Sheffield United and Burnley and Luton, who do everything properly, I believe, and then get relegated when Man City are there doing, arguably things not necessarily right, and running away with the championship, winning the league, having all the players, being able to pay for all the players. And to me, it's two leagues within one.
Apparently, is that the rules are wrong.
Well, we've got this in Formula One as well. I'm gonna move on to Formula One. So even though you do have Gary Shaw written here.
Yeah, I met him a few times, Gary Shaw.
I don't know who he is. Tell me who Gary Shaw is.
Legend at Aston Villa, Gary Shaw.
And I do know now. Yeah, so we should actually say this.
Played up front in the early 80s.
So there was a minute's silence for him, wasn't there?
Yeah, but he was a top guy as well, and he'd been doing analytical stuff.
Yes.
Statting games for Opta, I think, or Premier League, mainly around the Midlands. So I bumped into him a few times. A big friend of one of my close friends, Gary Thompson, and both Villa legends, sort of thing. You know, so it was a shock. He actually had a fall and didn't make it through after the fall, coming out of a taxi. So very unfortunate, and you know, to lose someone who was still around football and like that, you know, you see every time is a big loss.
So even though for people like me that watch it now, you know, he was in the 80s, you know, so it was a little bit before my time.
Couldn't mistake him with his blonde hair.
Right. Okay. Well, that's really sad news. And bless him. You know,
let's talk about F1. I've been reading about some swearing going on, right?
Yes.
So you're not allowed
so
to
what happened was
in F1
in Formula One every Thursday the team and the drivers, they have to do the press. It's a press day.
Yep.
So they go in and press interviews for the FIA, press interviews for the media outlets and so on. Max Verstappen has been known a little bit for foul language, mostly on team radio. So during the race, and they're there, and you know, it's like but they can bleep it out because they listen to them first before they air them. But he was in the press interview for the FIA, the governing body, and started using a swear word. And I'm going to be honest with you, I actually haven't watched it, but I know the outcome of it. And he has been given community service within Formula One for swearing in their official press conference.
What's his role? What job's going to do?
All I know is yesterday so he qualified second for the Singapore Grand Prix.
Okay.
And every question he just went, no comment.
Oh, did he? Yeah.
No comment. And they said, and the press actually said to him, look, you have to answer the question. It's the rules.
Yeah.
And he just turned around and went, I am answering the question. I have no comment. Talk to me outside.
Yeah.
Outside of the conference. So he was acting like
a big baby.
Yes. Yeah. He was a school child.
Max, big baby, yeah.
And what was brilliant, because while they were asking, it was really awkward, and Lando Norris, who qualified on pole, was there on his phone, and they said, Lando, what do you think of this? He said, I think he deserves everything he gets. and he was giggling away while he was saying it. He said, look, no, in all honesty, I think the rules are wrong. I think this is silly. I think we're being treated like children, and the rules need to change. So we're talking about the rules in football. We're talking about the rules in Formula One in the same vein.
It is crazy. You if they had a podcast like us, we can say what we like.
Yeah.
They can say what they like on that. Would they still be penalised if they had a private podcast and they said that? I don't know.
At the end of the day, the FIA should just easily be able to bleep anything out. But these things are broadcast live on the outlet channels, normally YouTube and Sky Sports here in the UK. But the broadcasters should still delay everything by 2 or 3 seconds and do it. It's easy. Well, I just don't know what he's going to do. It's just ridiculous. Has he got to pack away the car after the race or something? It's stupid, in my opinion, as a fan. Yeah. But it just creates more. It's a bit nonsense, but it does create something to talk about again. And you saw it in the news. Yeah. For me, as you know, as a Brit, you know, Verstappen has dominated Formula One in the last 3-4 seasons, and is without any shadow of a doubt the most informed, best driver in Formula One right now. But we've seen his car go backwards on the grid really over the last 7 or 8 races. If that makes sense. The other teams have developed faster, have caught them up and actually overtaken Red Bull. Red Bull seem to have the perfect... Yeah, literally. But last week we had the Azerbaijan Grand Prix where...
Baku?
You look at you know what you're talking about here.
We might have mentioned it last week.
We did mention it, yeah, well remembered.
We won't go back there.
So Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari puts it on pole position. He is arguably the best driver over one lap, the fastest driver. He keeps putting it on pole, but doesn't necessarily convert them into wins because the Ferrari isn't necessarily the fastest in race trim over race length, distance, whereas Red Bull are. But Oscar Piastri put in one of the passes of the season after the pit stops when they went on hard tyres, and he was 6 seconds behind Leclerc. After the pit stops, he comes out, I think, 1.7 seconds behind.
Right.
Once you get within 1 second within Formula, for those who don't know, you're allowed to, there's this thing called the DRS system, the drag reduction system, where you can press a button in the car on the main straight in a certain designated area, open the flap up, which reduces drag, which gives you extra speed. And I think the fastest one was 22 kilometres per hour faster than if you don't have it open. And if you're the car in front, you can't do it. It's only the car 1 second or less behind you. And Charles Leclerc just threw it into turn one at top speeds. And Oscar Piastri threw it into the corner inside of turn one. And I don't think Leclerc even thought he was going to do it. So it took him by surprise. One of the moves of the season for me, Oscar Piastri, the Australian, in his second season in Formula One in the McLaren, takes the win with Charles Leclerc just behind him. But Piastri was in a league of his own, actually, for that second half of that race. Just his second win, arguably his first one he earned, because Lando Norris had to give him the win in Hungary. We did. But I want to also talk about Perez and Carlos Sainz. Basically, any four of them could have won that race last weekend. Okay. They were all within about 3 seconds of each other. And on the final...
They all had their flaps up.
Stop it. They did. You're right. You've got it. And Carlos Sainz decided to make a move on Perez.
Right.
And Perez Sainz drifted to the left and clipped Perez's wheel, and they both, at top speed with DRS open, crashed into the left-hand barriers and were both out on that last lap, which elevated Norris up into fourth. Right. And Norris passed Verstappen. Norris started 17th and qualified 17th, but actually there was a couple of penalties. Hamilton, in fact, dropped to the back of the grid. So he started 15th and made it all the way up to 6th, and with that crash in the last lap, got elevated to 4th. But he passed Max Verstappen and took fastest lap. So in the championship, not just the race, which is just
still in with an outside chance.
So Verstappen has now a 59-point lead to Lando Norris. Yeah. But what was happening at McLaren is McLaren were allowing their drivers to race, whereas now Piastri has got to give way to Lando to give him the best chances within the championship. Okay. So we've got 7 races left, 59 points behind. It's a big ask. You're talking 9 points a race on average.
I made that 63.
Yes, but he's still got to win it, hasn't he? Yeah. So he needs to be in front.
He needs to win every one.
Well, he needs to beat Verstappen by 9 points. Really, yes. Yeah. But the point is, as long as we think right now, Red Bull are the 4th fastest car. There's 2 cars in each team. Right. So Verstappen should arguably finish each race 7th if the other cars finish in the order expected. Yeah. Norris should win. Yeah. If you look at, for 7th, you get, I'm going to have to get this right, so 10th is 1 point, 9th is 2 points, 8th is 4 points, 7th is 6 points. Okay. A win is 25 points, and the fastest lap is 1 point. Right. So Norris should get 26 points to Verstappen 6 now. Yeah. Whereas at the start of the season, it was the other way around. Yeah. Verstappen was dominating everything.
It's beginning to make a little bit of sense.
It is.
A tiny bit, yeah.
If anybody is still listening, then either I'm bloody brilliant at what I do. But anyway, that's what's going on in Formula One. And today... this will go out after the Formula One again, but I'm just about to finish this podcast and go and sit in Formula One and then do my Formula One podcast on the Singapore Grand Prix race house for anybody who wants to listen to that.
Go and listen to that, yeah.
So Verstappen is starting second with Norris on pole. Okay. And Norris has a history. He's had, this is his 6th pole position in Formula One. Yep. And he's never come out of the first lap in the lead. Wow. He's lost every lead on every pole position so far.
So there's another tip for you, back Verstappen to be in the lead after lap 1.
And it's very difficult to pass on the street circuit in Singapore. I was there for New Year's Eve, this just gone. Yeah. I was working for the casino on Sentosa Island, but got to have a little walk around the Formula One track and up and down the pit lane and all that stuff, because it's a street circuit. You can walk anywhere. But
Don't be walking when they're going 200 mile an hour.
Well, I'm well aware of that. I did kiss the track on the Anderson Bridge, and because we're doing this podcast, it's all because of a podcast. So Greg James, Radio 1
cricket
breakfast
fan.
presenter.
Cricket
No,
fan.
is he?
Absolutely.
No, he is. He is a cricket fan. You're right.
Podcast,
Yeah. So he does a Formula 1 podcast as well.
Does he?
And they've got this thing on there that they try and get fans to kiss the track.
Right, okay.
And then the fans ring in and and talk about, did you kiss the? It's just this thing that's lifted off.
Yeah.
So I actually thought to myself, right, and I got my wife to
video
me kissing the track, the Anderson Bridge in Singapore. You can watch them drive across it tonight. It's a night race as well, so it's all under floodlights.
Brilliant. Yeah.
I forgot to send it in.
Oh,
Forgot all about it. I got on with my own podcast.
I bet
didn't
Greg's devastated about that.
Well, you must have heard about it. So lots and lots going on in Formula 1 right now, and 7 races to go. There's a
Who
championship
do you think will
on
win
our hands.
today in Singapore?
Honestly,
Yeah.
Norris.
Right. Okay. You're going with Norris.
Last year, I could talk about this forever, as you know.
You could,
but last year at Singapore was the only race Red Bull didn't win.
Right.
And Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari won it.
Okay.
But they're starting 9th and 10th.
I like the name Charles Leclerc. Right.
Well,
so I'm going for Charles Leclerc. 'Cause I like his name.
Well, he's starting 9th.
It reminds me of Geoffrey Chambertin.
Yeah, of course it does.
So with Philippe Leclerc's winery down there. So I'm going with Charles Leclerc.
Right. Well, he's starting 9th today, and he thinks his best opportunity is to finish 5th.
Okay.
Today,
so that's
from
a
where
load
he's
of rubbish. My tip.
Well, I'm just saying. All right. If anybody puts money on that,
Don't do that.
my tip is Lando Norris to win today, with Verstappen possibly finishing maybe 5th or 6th.
Okay.
But that's my wish
detail,
as well. Okay. Now, I was working this weekend. No, Friday night.
Friday, yeah.
For a very, very special event.
You shot the sheriff, didn't you?
Well, I didn't even know we had a Sheriff of London. I've got to be honest with you.
I told my daughter Darcy, she said, "What's Reevesy? How's the gigs going?" I told her about your gig in Evesham and the much better attended one in Manchester. Yes. And then told her about the sheriff's gig in London.
Yeah.
And she went, "What? There's a sheriff of London?" And I went, it's crazy, isn't it?
It sounds like something from 500 years ago.
Yeah, she said, "Does the sheriff actually run London?" I went, "Well, I don't know what the sheriff does, because there's a mayor of London."
Yes.
Well, I have a very strong opinion, so I don't know what he does, by the way. But the sheriff, what does the sheriff do?
Well, so first of all, I didn't know that I knew the Sheriff of London.
Right.
And secondly, I didn't really know the Sheriff of London was a big fan of me.
Okay.
All right. So there's things go on that you can't control.
Yeah.
So I get a phone call saying, "Darren, would you please come perform at the Sheriff of London's grand charity ball in September?" And it's a special request by the sheriff that you come and perform.
Can't really say no to the sheriff.
You can't, can you? So I took my band up there on Friday, and it was in the Grand Ballroom.
Yeah.
And I think you can go in and walk around the Guildhall in London.
Yeah.
It's spectacular.
Right.
And we were setting up on Friday, and the next thing we know, there's all these sheriff's guards, about 50 of them, all dressed up in full regalia.
Right, they're brilliant.
With our body armoury on and massive great poles the height of this ceiling.
Yeah.
It was spectacular, and for me, something that makes us as in Great Britain unique, and the pageantry of the guards and Buckingham Palace and the royal family. And it has its critics, but it was spectacular to be part of and to see.
Brilliant.
And I got to perform for the sheriff, and the sheriff came up on stage with me as well.
Did he sing a song? Did he sing a song?
He didn't sing "I Shot the Sheriff," and I didn't either.
You knew that was coming, didn't you?
I did. The theme of the event was Best of British.
Right.
It's actually called London's Calling, but I didn't sing the Clash. What I did, though, mate, was
I'm the man for the Clash. You know that, don't
Well, I
you?
know.
Yeah.
And you'd have had it. But what
Jenny
I did
Jones.
sing is I did sing some Beatles songs.
Right.
And I did sing some Queen songs.
Yeah.
And I did sing an Oasis song.
Right.
Topical for them coming back.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's for sure.
That's a tenuous link, but a good link into Liam Gallagher played at Wembley last night. Three or four songs.
Well, and it got some criticism. Am I right?
I don't know.
But it's also a link because the night before I performed on that stage at the ballroom, Anthony Joshua and Dubois did their weigh-in event on that stage at the Guildhall on Thursday night.
Brilliant.
So,
They're following you around then, aren't they?
Something is going on. I seem to be in the right place. I seem to be in the right places. Sadly, I'm not playing Wembley tonight. But they did their weigh-in.
He is available, by the way, for gigs and anything
I'm actually available tonight after the Formula 1. But
all I've seen, to be honest, of the boxing, great to see 96,000 people buy tickets for the boxing. Yeah. I've lost a little bit of interest. I've waned over the years.
How many people will have bought the box office on Sky Sports though as well? It's massive TV viewing.
And I don't know much about the fighters yet, missed it, but I did see some highlights this morning. Great right hook that's put Joshua on the deck.
to
by
put
Daniel Dubois.
Anthony Joshua on the deck.
Yeah, and he weren't getting up, by the way, was he?
No, and I've seen him at Formula One. He is a giant of a man, and I thought James Haskell, the rugby player, was the biggest man I'd ever met. But Anthony Joshua he's just not human. No. And to put him on the deck,
he was a proper punch.
Wow.
Even Big Kev would have been proud of that one, see? He'd have given you a lung buster. Kev
was he a boxer by any chance?
Kev was, yeah. Commonwealth Games. He fought in the Commonwealth. No, you wouldn't know. No. I just want to go back to the sheriff.
Come on.
Right?
Come on.
So, we used to go on holiday to Florida a lot, and we had rented a villa there for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And one night, about midnight, there's a knock on the door, a proper rap on the door. Right. So I've looked at my wife and said, "You better go and answer that." So she said, "No, you go." So I went, "No." So I got on the phone. I looked, and the knocking on the door was getting louder.
Right.
I went close as I could without being seen to the door, and you got these sort of cover mesh in front of the door, so I couldn't quite see them, and they couldn't quite see me. But it was a tall woman, right, banging the door. Simon, she's going. So I went back in, and she started to get angry. So I rang the police, 911, sheriff's office. Right. Answers the phone. I said, "I think we're being burgled, or there's something going on at my front door." "Just answer the door, sir. We'll send the sheriff around 5 minutes." Right. So I'm at the door. I thought, do I answer it before the sheriff? So this car comes up about 2 minutes later, flashing its lights up and down this little cul-de-sac. Right. So I thought, well, should I answer it? The woman turns around. The sheriff's going, "What are you doing?" She says, I'm Simon's friend." Right.
Right.
So Simon lived next door. She had the wrong number. Right. So so my wife says, you just shit yourself and call the sheriff any time. I said, sheriff's turn up in 2 minutes. Why not call the sheriff? So the next day, Simon, who I knew a little bit, he was a tennis coach, right, at the Bollettieri Academy, came to me. He said, "So sorry about last night, Mr. Sillett." He said, "So sorry." He said, "Look, I live on my own, and sometimes I make a call at 11 o'clock to get some company."
Oh, no.
So she got away with it because in America, they would have been arrested. So quite a story to tell. Yeah, and I only called the sheriff.
Yes.
I hadn't called. My wife was lying next to me.
Well,
so little story about the sheriff.
That's funny. That is funny, mate. You could get into trouble quite easily.
Yeah, I know we're moving on a little bit. So
that's funny.
Let's go on 5-a-side teams. We've
got this little. Well, I just want to explain this again for anybody who didn't listen last week, the week before. You've come up with this idea that we pick our 5-a-side team of the week of people that have done really, really well.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of it. And I thought, God, blimey, I've got to think now. I've got to really think.
Thinking,
So, Sil, who is your 5-a-side team of this last week?
Right, we're going back a week.
Yep.
A week today, Rasmus Højgaard. We said McIlroy did bogey 2 of the last 4 holes, but Rasmus went 6 under on the back 9, I think, 5 or 6 under.
6 under on 9 holes is outrageous for anybody, even you, Sil.
Yeah, it happened against us, didn't it?
Yeah,
in a pairs final at Old Thorns.
Match play pairs. Yeah,
we were gutted, but
2022
Højgaard
was
fantastic, and I think these brothers will be big part of. I mean, I'm not sure it was him or Nikolai played in the Italian Ryder Cup. But both of them will be big players for Europe. Yeah. Going forward, so big up for Rasmus Højgaard.
There's a lot of Scandinavian golfers, mate,
Højgaard
doing really
is another
well.
One. He was awful yesterday. I thought he might go on and win at Wentworth, but Højgaard went 3 over yesterday, so he's out of the equation really. We mentioned a few times today Nuno Espirito Santo, the manager of
Forest.
Notts Forest, did a great job up at Liverpool. Third one. So Monday Night Football came to St Andrews, Birmingham this week.
So Monday Night Football, Sil, we've had it on Sky Sports for football for years,
probably
and we just see it spreading as many games as Sky can possibly get on the television over Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Yeah. But we've had it for a long time. Go on, tell me more.
So Monday Night Football comes from NFL, from American football, Okay. So that's been their big sale. There'll be one game every Monday. The whole country, 300 million people, view on a Monday out there. And obviously big players, they want the biggest players playing on Monday Night Football because that's when the biggest following is. But it happened to be Tom Brady, one of the co-owners of Birmingham, and Rob McElhenney, who's a big Eagles fan.
Wow, and if anybody's watched the Netflix documentary of the Wrexham,
Disney or
is it Disney? Is it? But Welcome to Wrexham.
Brilliant,
you know, I've been watching it and I absolutely love it. Seeing them come up from the National League into League Two, into League One now, and they are top of the league of League.
So it was a big game on Monday,
yeah.
And it was decided, but Wrexham went 1-0 up quite early, but. Jay Stansfield, who's the record buy. So Birmingham paid 10 million quid to Fulham for Jay Stansfield.
When was this? How long ago?
In the summer transfer window.
Oh, okay, just gone, right.
He was on loan there last year.
So Birmingham got relegated,
Yeah, got relegated, but spent fortunes, and they are flying.
Okay.
And Jay had a lot of tragedy in his family. His father, who was a proper player, played league football for Exeter. He passed away suddenly. But he's come through all that. I mean, that would be 10, 12 years ago, maybe more now that his father passed away. He's been at Fulham under the guidance of Steve Wigley, who's a brilliant coach.
Ex-Pompey player,
Ex-Pompey player, Notts Forest
recognise the name,
yeah. He sort of nurtured him, but they've made a lot of money on him. And he looks a real player at that level. Had a couple of outings for Fulham's first team, but not much. So £10 million, a big gamble for someone who hasn't played much league football.
For League One football is a massive
The
spend.
previous record, I believe, was $4 million for League One.
Wow.
I'm not sure who paid that. Probably Man City back in the day. But
I won't ask.
So that it was a good performance, and he's someone that will get 20-odd goals this season. Fourth member of my five-a-side team. I was at the game yesterday at St Mary's. We're watching our godson, Liam
Southampton Ipswich, is that right?
That's right.
Well, do you know what? I was in the car driving back from London, and my bass player said, "Oh, what about the football season? What do you think?" And I suddenly found myself giving a podcast in the car driving back at midnight. And when we got, I said, "Give me the list of fixtures, and I'll do some predictions."
Right.
And I predicted Liverpool to win, and they did. I predicted Man United to win, and they didn't. It was 0-0. But I also said Southampton Ipswich. Now that's either going to be two teams cancel each other out at 0-0, or it's going to be 6-6. It will be nothing in between. But Southampton, you were there.
Didn't you? Yeah.
I got the draw right. Yeah.
We had tickets in amongst the Ipswich fans. They were brilliant, the Ipswich fans.
Right.
So I sat with Liam's dad, Rory, and our partners' wives, Helen and Becky, and they started getting into the songs a little bit as well. It wasn't the best game. I'd worry for both teams.
But it wasn't going to ever be the best game, Sil, was it?
It was interesting. It's the first time I've seen the Ipswich team at first hand. They were probably, just for me, the better team over the 90 minutes without creating any chances. There was hardly a chance in the game.
Right.
Cameron Archer, the signing from, I think, Villa for Southampton, went round the keeper and hit the post after they'd been 1-0 up. A young lad, Tyler Diblin, had put Southampton ahead. He's a talented boy, plays a little bit like Grealish, but left-footed. He'd put them in front, but then over the course of the game, Southampton sat in a little bit, didn't create any other chances, and then didn't defend two corners well at the end. And the Sam Morsey, who's come up from League One, still with Ipswich.
With Ipswich?
Yeah, brilliant.
Okay. Is he a captain?
Captain, Captain Sam. And they sang a song about him along the lines of She's Electric.
Oh, okay.
So
Oasis again?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that we went to bed singing that song about Sam Morsey last night. He's Egyptian, or something about that.
Cool, the winter nights at your house must fly by.
Yeah. But he was a great strike. He got a massive deflection off one of the Southampton players, but went straight in the top corner, and the place went nuts around us. They call it limbs these days, don't they? Big limbs. Yeah, arms and legs going everywhere in the stand. Yeah, it's mental. And then Daniel Dubois is my fifth member.
Who took out.
Yeah, knockout.
Yeah, took out Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, so
well, mate,
hit me with your five-a-side
what a top
team.
five. Well, so what we've done recently, I've sort of agreed with you with a number. I mean, last week you had Harry Kane.
Yep.
So, since we had our last podcast, he'd scored for Bayern.
Yep.
In the Bundesliga, he scores 4 in the Champions League. And I've not looked actually, but apparently he scored a couple yesterday as well.
He scored at least,
Harry Kane is back on fire.
He is,
irrespective of whether he wins any trophies.
Yep.
He can't do any more than what he's doing right now, and he's back. Harry Kane has not lost it. He's not too old. He's one of the world's best strikers.
Absolutely.
The stats show it. He's got to be in my team of the week. That's my first one.
Yeah.
My next one is Oscar Piastri for winning at Azerbaijan, one of the best passes on Charles Leclerc of the season. We've talked about it.
Yep.
For me, he's going to be a championship contender next season.
Okay.
He's mathematically could still win it now, but he's got to back his teammate Norris to try and beat Verstappen.
All a bit hooky, but there you go.
So now we'll talk about Felipe Inzaghi, manager of Inter Milan.
Inzaghi, I'm sorry, yeah.
Oh, Simeone Inzaghi.
Yeah.
Thank you. You told me that wrong.
No.
Blimey, I thought Simeone was at Atletico Madrid.
Simeone Inzaghi,
Thank you.
Of Inter.
So, manager of Inter with the tactics against Manchester City to get a 0-0 at the City ground. I watched some of it. You know, it was a tough watch for a City fan, but as a neutral or a football tactics specialist, a great, brilliant job done.
Yep.
With Slot up at Liverpool, the new manager at Liverpool, taking over from Klopp, hit the ground running. The team did massive defeat. Or shock defeat might be a better description of it against, and we talked about it against Forest. He comes out, he plays brilliantly against AC Milan at the San Siro, and we saw a couple of British players playing that game as well, didn't we? With Abrahams, and is it Tomori? Is he British?
Yeah, Tomori came to Chelsea. As did Loftus-Cheek.
Yes, that's right. So there's some Brits out there.
Pulisic had got the goal.
That's right.
A British player, but spent a lot of time at Chelsea.
Yes. So there's there was a lot to watch in that, but Liverpool I thought were brilliant, and to do it at Champions League level is another level above the Premier League. I would arguably say. So he's in there for me, and Travis Head.
Yes.
Now, you said to me, Darren, you've got to put Travis Head in your five-star team, because I've got to be honest, I was scratching my head. I've been so busy doing Billy Joel shows and shooting the Sheriff on Friday night that sometimes it's just like, my God. Sill, why have you forced me to put him in my five-a-side team?
They've destroyed England, Australia.
That's it. Thank you. So Australian cricketer. I should have written it down.
Opening batsman.
So we've talked a lot about Gus Atkinson.
He's got an awful moustache. Travis Head.
Well, do you know what? I've got to look at it because there's a lot going on. Like Cameron Smith, the Australian golfer, Valtteri Bottas has tried to. What is it? Is an honorary Australian. He's Finnish, really, but he's honesty. Monastery. And Billy Joeling, honesty was in my head. So okay, so I need to look at a picture of Travis Head, but he's clearly come into the T20 cricket series against England.
They're on the 50 over one now, so the one-day internationals.
Right. Tell me more, Sil. Help me out.
At Trent Bridge on Thursday.
Forest again.
Back at Forest. But his left-handed bat opens, and he was lethal on Thursday, and then got a quick 30 again at Old Trafford on Saturday. But they blasted England away over the two games, and his start that he's given Australia has been. We can't go near that.
Right, okay. Well,
we're struggling a little bit with our batting, to be honest, at that level.
Okay, and is it because we've got a number of young players playing rather than Test cricketers playing? Is that something to do with it, would you say?
I think it definitely is, and it's a bit rudderless at the moment. Bazball will come into it. He's McCullum, who's the Test coach, manager of the team. He's agreed to take the one-day team as well now, but at the moment, Marcus Trescothick, who is a top player,
yes, I remember that,
is interim coach, and I think it's all a little bit loose, and things.
So he's learning.
It needs to be tightened up pretty quickly, because I think there's massive competitions coming up.
Well, right now England are definitely on form when it comes to Test cricket.
Yeah.
So we want to be able to see that in these one-day events and so on, to keep the interest for everybody to come along, especially with them being home matches in the UK. So Travis Head, the Australian cricketer. Do you know, I think Australian sport's always in a good place. Somehow they're so far away from the rest of the world. Yeah. But, we've talked about Oscar Piastri, we've talked about Travis Head today, and I've been texting my Australian mate Steve Frost, who we came to Silverstone for the first time this year.
You've mentioned him.
Yeah, I have mentioned him, and I'd go down and stay with him and his family for the Melbourne Grand Prix, years ago, many, many times. And he texted me this morning saying, Darren, I've just booked my ticket for the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Right.
Sort it out. And I haven't told my wife yet.
Oh, crikey.
So she might. I haven't bought the ticket, but I have looked into it and thought, can I buy one ticket, or do I have to buy 3 tickets to take my 2 boys, or do I have to buy 4 tickets to take my wife as well? And then, of course,
just speak to Charlie.
Mate, I just need to speak to Charlie Feather. We're meant to be meeting and chatting Formula 1 for 2025, possibly.
You better send him a message to listen to this podcast. All the questions you've got for him are in here.
I think we need to send it to everybody. Guys, do you know what? We've actually picked a five-a-side match this podcast.
Yeah.
We've got 5 different players on each team, which is the first time we've done it.
It's a good effort, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We now need to see if somebody with AI can turn that into some sort of 5-a-side virtual match.
Okay.
Yeah, we could do. Who
Good
knows?
idea.
Who knows what's possible? Little shout out to Loud House. There we are.
Yep.
Number 9 of 12 that we've done for you boys up in London.
Yep.
So
we'll be
see what
working
you
with
think.
them going forward.
Do we need to mention anybody? So any shout outs or?
We have just partnered up with Dawson's Auctioneers, which
Yes.
we will have a bit more news on going forward, and we'll be working with them throughout the next 12 or 15 episodes as well.
Well, it'd be very interesting to see how that goes with them and the relationship with them. When you think of auctioneers, my son did say to me that your ears are getting bigger, Dad.
Did he?
And I don't know if they're auctioneers, but I think it's just about getting old. I've got my 50th birthday coming up in the next couple of weeks. Sill, I know I sang at your 60th last time, so you've got to live up to that.
Oh, well, I've got Darcy's doing some brilliant stuff on the guitar.
Oh, you said?
Yeah,
what
brilliant
song she
stuff.
been learning this week?
She's done Yellow this week.
Oh, Coldplay.
Yeah, a bit of Coldplay,
No,
yeah.
it's another song I enjoy singing.
Yeah.
You know, Coldplay, for me, not my favourite band, but
Right.
when it comes to business, they've sold some massive gigs,
yeah.
and they're out there doing it. A great ambassador for
So what you got
British
lined up
music.
for the 50th then?
So, well, I was originally going to Vegas.
Yep.
That got shelved when I got my tax bill.
Right.
And all the money I'd saved up went on that. So,
Right.
you know, but I'm going to try and play some golf.
Yep.
That's what I'd like to do. So I haven't even talked to you about it yet.
But yeah, we go right.
But
Okay.
we are this next week going on a golf trip.
We are. We have the Goodwood Dignity Golf Society Ryder Cup.
Yes.
A 2-day event at Springs, where we'll be bringing you the 10th podcast from.
Yes.
I think.
Oh, I like the idea of that.
Yeah, we'll be bringing you a couple of guests.
Have we lined this up yet?
No, not yet. They don't know, but we've got people like Andy Orford, Mark Chamberlain, 2 of the guests we've been on before.
Yep.
Darryl Powell, who played for Derby and Jamaica
And
in the World
Pompey
Cup.
as well.
Pompey.
Yes.
Birmingham he played for. We've got Graham Ricks, who's played for Chelsea, Arsenal, played in World Cups.
Well, the reason I remember him is he's former Portsmouth manager.
He managed Portsmouth, yeah.
Another one.
It's
so,
a bit southern, isn't it? But there you go.
Well, that's where we're from,
But
mate.
Ricks is actually a northern guy. So,
Right.
Well,
he does comment a lot on the WhatsApp group, I've got to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I look
it'll
forward
be
to
interesting. We're looking
meeting
forward
them.
to that.
Yeah.
We're on Team Barney against.
We are. We're in the. Well, I thought Barney was the red team, but apparently we've got to wear white shirts.
Right, it's going to really suit me, innit?
Well,
you know what I mean. If it rains as well,
especially when you have your bacon sandwich in the morning and you got ketchup all down your front.
You got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be there. Where is it? It's near Reading.
Springs, Wallingford, in Oxfordshire.
Oh,
Springs
okay.
Golf Resort.
And of course,
you ought to know where we're going.
I do. Well, I will know by Thursday morning. But Wallingford, I do know it because as musical director of Oxford Pantomime for 9 years, in fact 10 years. I did my 10th one last year, but there was a big gap between the 9th and 10th one I did.
Right.
It was always mentioned as one of the sort of local places to take the mickey out of.
Really?
So I'm looking forward to going there because I've never done it.
So we're taking the mickey out of the other team this week.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So anyway, so really look forward to it, and we will see you from there next week. My name's Darren Reeves.
My name's Neil Sillett.
And we are Sillett and Reevesy from the Marriott Hotel in Portsmouth. And I don't know how many people have walked behind us to look at what we're doing. Guys, take care. Goodbye.
Over and out.